Well, hello friends. Welcome to your very first 6th grade homework video. I will make these every single week. So sometimes they will be like 5 minutes long. Sometimes they will be 10 minutes long. It just depends on what we are looking at. And you will have access to this in Schoology, and I will send it on the parents' remind message, so they'll have access to it on their phone. And you can play it as many times as you want. You can pause this video if you would like to. And I think that's about all I got. So let's go ahead and start. So the first problem number 1, and problem number 6, both have the word sum in it. And what that's asking for is that's the answer to an addition problem. So let's focus in on this one, and we are going to be adding. We are adding 23,809 plus 4,711. There are no decimal places on this, and so it should make it nice and easy. So I'll just start it off to refresh our memory. We start on the right-hand side with our 9 plus 1. So 9 plus 1 is 10. And then we carry over the 1. And then 1 plus 0 plus 1 is 2. And so we drop down a 2. I want you to keep going. When you, I do want you to make sure that you put commas in there. So after 3 spaces, you will put a comma. All right, number 2, find the difference. So difference is the answer to a subtraction problem. And so we're going to be subtracting here. Same thing. We start on the right-hand side. 3 minus 1 is 2. 3 minus 0 is 3. And then we just keep going and then make sure we put a comma, because there'll be a comma after every 3 place value spots. Number 3 is find the product. Product is the answer to a multiplication problem. On this one, I'm going to go ahead and do half of the problem for you to get you started, to refresh your memory. So you'll start on the right-hand side, and we start right here with the ones place on the bottom number. So we're going to do 3 times 5. 3 times 5 is 15. And then we are going to do 3 times 7. 3 times 7 is 21. And then we will add the other 1 to the 21, so our answer will be 22. And we'll carry over this 2. And then we are going to do 3 times 2. 3 times 2 is 6, but then we have to add that 2 to it, and so the answer would be 8. Okay, what I always advise my students to do is to cross off all these extra numbers, and then we're also going to cross off the 3 because we have multiplied it with every number we need to multiply it with, and we are going to drop down a 0. Now you are going to be focusing in on the 2, okay? So you're going to go 2 times 5, and then you're going to go 2 times 7, and then 2 times 4, and your answers will fall in suit down here. Once you get those answers, you will then add all of your numbers together. Make sure you put your comma after the 3rd place value spot, and you will be good to go. Find the quotient. Okay, first of all, I know this looks like Funky Town over here. It's really just this. It's just a division problem, but for whatever reason, when we made the worksheet, we couldn't find that symbol, and it looks like a crazy symbol. So it says you're going to have a fraction as a remainder. I'm going to solve this one for us. I know division is something that kind of our brain goes to sleep with that over the summer. So why don't you just watch this, and then you can put the answer on your paper. I want you to put all the work that I do, though, so I can see that you followed along. And then maybe you'll be better off doing the next one. So 3 goes, well, we can make 3 groups of 6, or 3 groups of 2 with 6, because 3 times 2 is 6. All right, and then 6 minus 6 is 0. Drop down the 8. 2, and I'm trying to figure out how many groups of 2 I can make with 8. Well, I know that 2 times 4 is 8, so 4 groups. 4 times 2 is 8. And then I get a 0. 8 minus 8 is 0. I'm going to drop this down. And now I want to figure out how many groups of 2 I can make with 9. Well, I know that 4 times 2 is 8. And then I know that 2 times 5 is 10. So that would be too many groups. So I'm going to go back with my 4. 4 times 2 is 8. And then I'll subtract and I have a 1. Now when it says let us have a fraction remainder, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that 1 that is my remainder, and that's going to be my numerator. And then this 2 right here is my denominator. So my answer is 344 and 1/2. All right. Find the sum. Remember to find a common denominator first. So whenever you're adding and subtracting fractions, you have to have a common denominator. So what we do down here is I always set up the denominators. I put a 6 and a 12. I got my 6 from right here, and I got my 12 from right here. And then I'm going to count in multiples until my multiple matches. So 6, 12, 18, 24, 12. Oh, look. I don't even have to go any further with the 12 because I have a match already. So the common factor would then be 12. So what I need to do is I need to focus here on turning that 3/6 into a fraction that has a denominator of 12. The 6/12 is good to go. We can ignore that one for right now because it does have a denominator of 12. So I have to take that 6 and convert it into a 12. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that right here. I already know it's going to be a 12. Well, how did I turn that into a 12? Well, I multiplied it by 2. And then whatever I do with my bottom denominator, I also need to do with my numerator. So 6 times 2 is 12, got me my 12. And then 3 times 2 is 6, so I completely changed the fraction. So 6/12 and 3/6 are equivalent to each other. It's the same amount. It's just one's written in the form of 12ths and one is written in the form of 6. Then I'm going to rewrite this, and then when you are adding fractions, you do not add the denominator. You keep the denominator the same, and then you add your numerators. And when I add 6 plus 6, I get 12. And so my answer would be 12/12, which is also equivalent to 1. So either one of these would be a great answer choice. They're both right. All right, we're going to come back up to number 6. On this side, I'm going to do a little bit less than I did on the first column because you kind of got you warmed up. The only difference is this one's a little bit higher level because on the first column, we didn't have decimals, and this one we do. So the only difference is whenever you are adding up decimals, you have to drop down your decimal before you even start your problem, and then you just multiply. You multiply, and you start on your right side, and you work to your left side. And same with subtracting. We just bring down that decimal, and then we start by subtracting from our right side to our left side. Now, I do notice on this one, it does have something different than on the other side because you start out with 1 minus 9. You cannot take 9 things away from 1 because there's only one thing. There's not 9 things to take away from it. And so we have to go through this borrowing system to turn that into a higher number. So what I'm going to do is my one's it's not big enough to work with. And then if I was to go over to the neighbor, there's literally nothing to take from. And if I went to this neighbor, there's still nothing to take from. So I'm going to start by taking from the 7. I'm going to take the 7 and turn it into a 6. Okay, so now I have that as a 6, which can turn this place value into a 10. So now my ones place is a 10. So now I can borrow. This 0 right here can borrow. So it's going to cross this off and make it a 9, which makes the tenths place a 10. And I'm going to cross this off and I'm going to make this a 9, which then turns this into 11. So this looks like a kind of like a hot mess if I'm being honest. I may rewrite it. So now I have a 6. Up here is a 9. I changed that one into a 9. And then I got an 11 over here. Okay. Now I can subtract. 11 minus 9 is 2. 9 minus 5 is 4. And then you just keep going. Okay. Find the product. This one It's the same concept as this one right next to it that we already did, except you have one extra digit, and I feel comfortable that you guys will be okay with that. This one says, find the quotient. It will have a remainder. Same thing. It doesn't say it's going to be a fraction remainder, but we're going to go ahead and just roll with a fraction remainder. I would fix that if it bothers you. If not, feel free to rewrite it. You can also take your papers and I'm turning my iPad around, which you can't tell right now, and you can write this direction. And you can do all your work going this way. It's fine. Or you can attach a scratch piece of paper. A scratch piece of paper. Just if you do that, just make sure you number your work. So I'm not endlessly searching to figure out where number 9 is or whatnot. Okay, we're subtracting fractions, so common denominator here. 5, 10, 15, 20. I usually go and do about 4 to 5 numbers, hoping that I find a match. Look at right off the bat here. Okay, so again, this one right here is golden. It already has a 10 as a denominator. The 5, to turn it into a 10, we would multiply it by 2. And whatever we do to the denominator, we have to do to the numerator. So 8 times 2 is 16. 5 times 2 is 10. We are rewriting the 2/10. And then we are subtracting. When you're subtracting fractions, you do not change the denominator or subtract. You just keep the denominator the same, and then you would subtract these, and we would get 14/10. Okay, 14/10 is an improper fraction. I will accept this today. We will talk further into that. This is what it would look like if we were to put it in its more proper form, but we'll get there. I'm not going to stress out about that today. All right, turning it over. Order these from least to greatest. I always tell people to write L to G, or maybe down here, because the most common thing that people do wrong is they get them all ordered and then they turn in their paper and then they get it wrong and they're like, Miss Martell, why did I get this wrong? And I'm like, oh man, you put it in greatest to least instead of least to greatest. So just try to be mindful to maybe put that L and the G in the appropriate place. So our smallest number is 0. So that will go there. Our largest number is 23, and that will go there. So I got you started on that. Find the sum. Same as the other side of the paper. It is just that this side of the paper, they did not put them, stack them up for you. So you have to line them up by place value. And what I mean by that is the ones need to be on top of the ones and the 10s on top of the 10s. So that's what that one would look like. On this one, on number 13, I would like you to stack them up. Make sure that this number goes on top because it has the larger value. Number 14, we are dividing. I'll get you started. 8 cannot go into 1, but it can go into 18 and it can go 2 times. And there, I got you started. Find the product. When you are finding the product of fractions, you are just multiplying across. So 2 times 6 is 12. And then you're going to do 14 times 8. And you are going to get the denominator. 8, 9, 10, and 11. There you go. Now this is not simplified. We are going to really focus in on that after our first few homeworks. I will accept that right there. And then we'll work on that. I will eventually start taking points off for that, but I don't do that for the first month of school, and I don't want to stress you out on your very first homework. What are the first 5 multiples of 7? Let's do the first 3 together. 7, 14, 21. And then you can do the last 2. Find the sum. Same as the other side of the paper, but yet again, you need to line them up appropriately. Make sure those decimals are right on top of each other, and then bring it down before you start. Find the difference. This one has a larger value than this one. even though this one has more place value spots, because this is a 7 and this is a 1, and you go by the largest place value spot. And so let's go ahead and I will show you what this one looks like. So because there is nothing above that 6 and the 3, I'm going to place zeros there to make it easy for me. And then I'm going to bring down my decimal place. Find the quotient. It will have a remainder. I'll get you started by telling you that 16 goes into 37 2 times. Find the quotient. Keep, change, reciprocal. You may have heard it called keep, change, flip. We keep the first fraction, we change the division sign to a multiplication sign, and then look at me. I did the keep, change, reciprocal, and I put a 3 right there, and this should be a 6. I took the 6/8 and I flipped it and made it 8/6. And then you just multiply across, and then you will have your answer. Okay, that is homework video number 1. You can watch that as many times as you want.